Welcome again, Keepers of Light, and I call you that because you are just that. Keepers of Light. If I look tired, it's because I am tired. But I really wanted to get on here because coming on here helps me a lot. What I'm finding is that I'm not able to engage in my left brain when it pertains to topics like these in the way that I used to be able to do before. And the only way for me to really proceed forward is to come on here and to speak. So that's different for me. A lot is changing in my life. A lot of what I'm seeing as being laid out as what the next steps are that I'm to be taking is much different than I had ever anticipated. One of the things that the guides are really I'm seeing that they're leading me to is being able to open myself up more to working with you guys and to create a sense of community. Because what is occurring here is it's like an unfolding of something that is going to anchor into the into the 3D reality, and it's going to anchor in uniquely with respect to if we're to compare it to how things are created and have been created so far. And you guys, you're the ones who are really making it happen. I mean, we're doing it together. So the thing is there are certain parts of me that used to come through me naturally that no longer are coming through me naturally anymore. And this is like the odd part about it all, is like there's an adjustment period that I'm going through, and even coming here and finding myself expressing like I'm talking to a camera now, like, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I've always been nervous about being in front of a camera, and now I'm in front of one every day, and I'm myself the one putting myself, turning it on and whatnot. So I am seeing how things are shifting in my life, and I'm also seeing how much of that really is in correlation to you who are listening, who these words resonate with. There is someone who started asking questions about some of the things I said, and I wanted to just express to you guys that I don't. I encourage questions. I do encourage your questions, and they actually make me feel pretty excited because it feels as though I'm just not talking to myself anymore. There are times when I kind of feel like uh, I'm supposed to just come on here and just talk, and the guides are like, yes, yes, just come on here and express and talk. And the thing is I am channeling this information. So when I come through, it's not it's a collective. It's it's coming from the collective field of what I have labeled, and it's just a label, the keepers of light. And in order to stabilize and create a structure, then that's what we do. We name things to create structures. So this portal is really like the foundation to the many of you who will be coming in, and you will know who you are. I mean, you're either going to listen and then want to like run. Maybe you come back later, but what I am seeing is that um there are some of you who are activating me, and your questions actually help me to activate more and more of what it is that I am to be presenting here. I can tap into the collective field and then find the topics that are necessary, like on the larger scale, to be understood. But in order for us to move forward, like in the future, it will be that there is more of a communication flowing back and forth between us, to make possible the expression of the newness that is coming forth. And what I was saying yesterday about the soup and all of that, like it was really just, just to express how in the beginning it is and it does require a certain level of immersion within a particular frequency in order to kind of stabilize into a foundation that can be built upon and from. When I said that, I spent just a couple years, um, practicing channeling. I would come on here and practice. I can't even listen to some of the things that I had posted when I first started this channel. I feel like a lot of it is just, I can't say, yeah, a lot of it I really wouldn't be posting and sharing, but the guides have always been telling me that because I'm serving as a demonstration, then leaving a trail, kind of like breadcrumbs of where I started from, and then all the stages in between. I'm really coming on here, not just doing it from the physical standpoint so that you can go back and see, okay, this is where she started. This is some of the things she did. And it's like, this wasn't so great. This is, you can see how I am morphing uh, into a more expanded expression. And that isn't well intended to, play out in that way, much in the way that I can also mimic how it is that I'm expressing towards you, because I can use that myself as a sample in that now, because I've gone to do it myself. I can say, oh, okay, now I just have to, I can use the same map. I can use the same. Okay, when I'm tired, I kind of like, I don't connect so well, but I can kind of use the same thing that worked for me, um, in working with you. And so, yeah, maybe just coming on here and just listening and being quiet and just listening may be the way to go, because when I'm speaking, because I'm channeling, then it's like filling in gaps within your energetic system, and it's actually recalibrating you, because these topics are ones that aren't necessarily introduced. Um, they're the ones that aren't necessarily touched upon and introduced in the ways that I'm introducing them. And so it affects you in that way that for some people it can be very uncomfortable, because there are many ways that I'm showing up that are not so common. And in that way, I can engage people's self-protective mechanisms. I was mentioning to the same person listening that, yeah, the other day when she asked a question, and I got to bring this back, she was asking a question about something I had said, and um, one of which was about, and I'll get into, yeah, it was about the how creation. I had said creation cannot be. What did I just say? I said that. Gosh, I should have replayed it. So yeah, I was talking about how cannot work against itself. I said existence cannot work against itself. And I don't necessarily think that, you know, see, the thing is this, because everything is about perspective and perception and perspective. If you're looking at things from a different vantage point, if you're looking at it from, say, now you're looking at the earth from space, and then now we're looking at the earth from being on the earth, then it's a completely different story that you're going to be able to tell about the earth, because of what you're seeing and what you're perceiving about it. So there are moments when I'm speaking where I'm speaking from like that higher perspective, and then I also kind of really have to like, like I'm walking like a fine and thin line, because depending upon whoever is listening, what they're hearing, if they're hearing it from like the lower perspective, it could very well be misinterpreted. And I'll sense within myself, not because I have really triggered like crystal clear memories from my past incarnations, but I do feel how there have been lessons that I have had to learn from other incarnations, just given the level of frequencies that I feel within myself about certain topics. And one of which is really about this it's like betrayal. It's almost like I've done this before, like I've done this same thing before in other lifetimes, but then the ending wasn't good. It wasn't a good ending towards it. And so a lot of what I've spent like this lifetime is getting over some of the karmic wounding that I've had from previous lifetimes, when I've tried to impart this same wisdom and knowledge that I'm doing now, but have done it from a perspective that wasn't so connected to this understanding of higher consciousness. And is that the way that I want to put that? So yeah, so within me, I can sense that I have hesitated to come out, particularly to share or to express it when I was in those states, when I wasn't completely like 100%, like I can't say, well, maybe not 100%, but rooted within what I'm saying, to that level of feeling as though it is connected to the higher level consciousness, and that it is connected to the harmonic field, and that it is coming from that intention point that I am able to, come out and express in this way. That's what self-trust had to be for me. It had to be a journey of looking very deeply within myself and coming to terms with the fact that I can trust myself, that I can allow the next moment that comes to me and presents to me, I can allow myself to enter into that moment without fearing that I will somehow do something that is damaging to myself. And in that way, this kind of answers one of that particular question about how, when you're looking at it from the higher perspective, the field of higher consciousness and the field of existence that comes from higher consciousness, which is really an understanding that everything is interconnected, and that because everything is interconnected, that we are all experiencing just different aspects of that. When you're looking at it from that perspective, reality existence does not work against itself. It's always functioning for the purpose of expansion and evolution and expression. So that was where I was coming from when I made that comment. I do recognize that there are those who would argue, and they would be correct. And that's why I keep saying over and over again that truth itself can change from person to person. I mean, you talk to one person and they have a completely different truth about reality than the next and the next. And that's what we're being confronted with within what we're experiencing within the outer world perspective of reality, is that we have come to a point where we are being forced or being encouraged to understand that there are many different ways of perceiving reality, and depending upon where you're coming from and the context from which you're coming from, you could consider yourself correct. And and to argue about whether you're correct or not is oftentimes pointless. It actually doesn't take you anywhere in terms of expanding into a higher experience or a better experience of what it is that you're choosing to experience, what it is that you're trying to experience. So I don't know, but I just had this thought, so I'm just gonna go whatever comes up. So I just had a vision, a flash of, oh yeah, talk about your past. So I'm gonna talk about how when from what I remember from like the first kind of parts of my childhood, what I remember is communicating with my higher consciousness family, my starseed family. I remember communicating with them telepathically, and and I remember being kind of trained and being prepared to come onto this existence and then to help and do what I'm doing now. But the thing is here I am, a little kid, and I'm perceiving myself, you know, as not being like a kid, like I'm perceiving myself from this higher perspective. And it took a while to come to terms with, oh, you're like in a, kid body here. Like you're in a kid body. You have all these different ways of perceiving perceptions that are actually getting in the way now of you being able uh, to just function and live. So I did wind up shutting down a lot of these abilities, even channeling and things like that, or muting them down. I don't necessarily think that I completely shut them down completely, but I do think that I muted down a lot. And and it was also because, as prepared as, and this is like starseed material, like just talking about it from the starseed perspective, but overall it's really kind of the same experience if you ask me. Even like if you're looking at it as, oh, I don't identify with being a starseed, I'm like, that really doesn't matter. I feel like these topics are kind of, they're all like the same really, because let me just look at it, human child. um we're always like kind of assuming that children don't know. We're always assuming that we don't know more than, we're assuming that we're limited in terms of what we're knowing, but it is our bodies that have and hold and contain the intelligence, which is why the topic is really crossing over into the present topic about how it is that we now allow the technology to become aware of the technological ways in which our human bodies and vessels exist. Um, so, back then it just kind of felt like, you know, I started to kind of forget, to just forget. And I realized, like, you know what? I had to, at some point I realized, okay, this is really hard because I'm here feeling the frequencies and feeling the contrast of the frequencies. It was like, it was very intense, like feeling the frequencies of emotions and feeling the frequencies of emotions, not just of mine, but the emotions of those around me. It was very tough. Like it was very, very hard for me. But the reason why I'm kind of talking about all this is because the guides just kind of want me to learn how to express and just be more open. One of the things that the person who was asking me questions, um, she sensed in me was that part of me that still kind of feels a reservation towards speaking in this way, towards sharing what my inner world perspectives are. And, I was piecing it together because I do have my sense of my work that I still have remnants of to do in terms of healing those parts of me that would hesitate to bring forth information. It's almost like there were many periods in my life where I felt like I knew so much, but then I had to, like, felt like I was hoarding it and just keeping it to myself. And um, but then when I would share, sometimes it would be rejected because I was sharing, not understanding, because I had shut down my connection to, or muted my connection to higher consciousness and my Starseed family, that I would perceive it as though it were like a rejection towards me and, completely misunderstand it. So, there are all these topics, and the whole point is the human existence is what I experienced. I'm not here saying that I'm not a human in that sense. But then when you're talking about human being, it's really just an aspect of consciousness, The reason why I say I'm a starseed, it's really because I'm just kind of like here to point out that there are many different sorts of existences that we all have. We all have like fractals of beingness and experiences of beingness that we have connection to within our own energetic systems, within our own bodies. We have access to those that type of information. Now, when I access the info, I can come here and speak about it because, part of my human being programming is to be able to do this type of work. It is to be able to contextualize the bigger picture and then come back and then to detail out what those components are. And this is really kind of why it flows so naturally from me, because first of all, I'd spent my whole lifetime learning. I've been in earth school learning all of these subjects about emotions, about frequencies, about I've been learning everything and then understanding to a certain level. But now I'm at this because I have like a greater access and expanded into my beingness, which is outside of the human scope. Because first of all, I talked about this a few videos ago. It was more so about how when you address those primitive survivalist fears and you're able to address them in that way, that they no longer factor in as being the underlying factors that are moving you on a day-to-day basis. When you kind of confront those, you expand your experience, and now you're going to be laid open in terms of being able to access information that may not come through in the way that is coming through me right now. But it could very well just be that now you're more clear about what the next step is to take to those to completing those steps that are required for you to complete in terms of living your highest level beingness here. So yeah, so I was saying to her, thank you for commenting. I was saying to her that she was probably picking up because, overall, being human also means that now you're in constant relationship with other people, that you're, because of that and because of this higher understanding, if you're looking at it from the higher understanding that we are all interconnected and that we're all kind of like aspects of one another in many ways, that from that, when you're looking at it that way, oh God, I'm blinking. Yeah, when you're looking at it that way, the experiences that you're having from a moment to moment basis are really learnings that you are accumulating and completing in terms of like the subject matters that you came and incarnated here to complete. And the more aware that you are doing so, that this is what it is, that this is what is occurring in your life, the more aware of it that you are, the more aware you are of this being the case, then the more you're able to move from one subject to the next and be able to to come from the higher perspective, which is connecting to those points of energy that configure your energetic system so that you are now living the life that you're really wanting to live. So the other question was really about the pyramid. I mentioned the pyramid, and see, when I was mentioning that, it was because I was talking about having meditated in the morning, and this is like one of the experiences that has also really changed for me. I've been really good at meditating. I've been meditating for so many years now. It's more than 20 years that I've just been, consistently meditating, if not every day, then almost every day. And that is really like the process of immersion that I've been in. So it wasn't necessarily just reserved to the 2 years of me, coming on here and channeling from within the Keeper of Light portal. It's been the majority of my life that I have spent. I'm that Pisces who has her head in the clouds. Yeah, I was that Pisces who, no one quite understood. Like, what are you doing? Like, are you here? Are you here? No, I wasn't always here. Like, my consciousness wasn't always like completely tuned into earth living and earth life, because I've been immersed in, in learning about it, not necessarily like living from it. And so there's been many parts of my life that have been kind of disengaged from processes that I feel and have felt, sad about in many ways, because wasn't engaged in those ways that I was perceiving and seeing other people doing. But at the same time, I could also uh, feel the benefits of not doing so, because I have had that awareness, like I've said before, that I came in here for this particular purpose, to gather info. And then now I've gathered all this info, and it's kind of like my how to share it isn't necessarily in this linear way that that we're taught to. It's more so that it's coming through from not just being engaged from the like a mind oriented perspective, but from the perspectives that are available to me because of the memories that I have. And and a lot of the memories that I have, they're not even visual yet. I find that my memories first come through me, through my visceral understanding and feeling of them, through my body. Like I feel the energetics, and then I can kind of like eventually learn how to interpret what into visual format, what it is that I am perceiving. And in this way, I was saying to you guys before that I've felt like an interpreter in many ways, because and when you come on here, it really is kind of like you taking like a foreign language that you never, that you wanted to learn but never quite learned. But there's going to be like little components that actually, because they are interrelated with other languages, that, or with your own language, sorry, that ring a bell, because you're like, oh yeah, the languages, they're all expressing the same thing. It's just that it's a different sound and different words involved, different vibrations involved also within the languaging. So I come on here, and it's like what you're really kind of partaking in is almost like you're learning like a different language. But the thing is, the material is not new. The material is what it is. It's available for everybody in terms of understanding. So what has happened progressively with me is like I would uh, I am able to get into these. I'm able to, when I'm meditating, and now it kind of almost feels like my whole life is turning into like a meditation, if you ask me. And that's what happens when you immerse yourself like in this state long enough. What eventually happens is that it becomes like your new baseline. And I feel like what I'm doing here is really kind of helping you guys to create to step into your own natural higher point of baseline. Because when you do, we're going to be creating, like, as far as I'm concerned, what I'm feeling is that, yeah, once we're gonna be creating a new earth. um and it's not just that we're creating a new earth. It's not really necessarily that we're creating a new earth, because really the earth herself is gravitating. She's moving us to a different position that is allowing us to show up differently also. So it's a cohesive thing happening all at the same time. But that's another topic. And then, but what I was saying to you was like, when I was meditating for many years, it was like different steps to it. Like in the beginning, maybe like everybody who's just beginning to meditate, where you kind of feel like you don't even understand the point to it. But I don't know, I think I was kind of understood the point to it, because yeah. So anyway, these past few months, maybe like a month or so, maybe 2 months, I started to just perceive pyramids a lot. Like, and I'm saying pyramids, like, I was always just talking about pyramids because I talk to my friend Donna almost every day. Well, we chat. We don't like always talk on the phone, but we chat. And I was mentioning pyramids a lot to her, and she was set to send me out my package of crystals. And wait, there's one that I'm wearing right now that I want to show you that she sent. Well, she sent me, she also sent me the star here. And, but there's one in particular. I got so many on this chain that you guys are gonna be laughing at me. She sent me this. I love this thing. So she she also she and I are gonna be doing a lot together. Uh, we've we've been in different lifetimes together. That's another topic. But the point is that and she works with crystals because there's crystal technology. And the reason why I talked to you about, like, yeah, you know what, maybe try and get one of Donna's crystals, it's really because her crystals are um they're infused. And this is kind of like going to also lead up to the pyramid topic. They're infused with energetics that are from the other side, from the non-physical um, perspective of beingness, from the higher consciousness field. And in that way, they've helped me expand in ways that I think I likely wouldn't have been able to do as quickly as I have done. So in that way, like, that's like another thing. But so when I was mentioning to her that, crystals here, I mean, pyramids here, pyramids there, she did send me my own like pyramid. But before then, like a few weeks before then, I started perceiving that I needed to be within a pyramid shaped I needed to be within a pyramid shaped um, structure when I am meditating. And once, I received information about that. So from then on, I've been putting myself within my pyramid, which is why I said my pyramid, is because I've placed myself within my pyramid shaped like a pyramid shaped structure, which is to say, this is from my inner vision that I'm doing so. So, okay. The thing is there's been a lot that has been happening, like when I am in that pyramid. And I do think that it is related to pyramid technology, period, and that there is an opening to information, that ancient information. And the reason why it's ancient is not necessarily like a time thing. It's more so that within the many timelines of existence for humankind, like, because there's many timelines of existence, then we're coming closer and closer to that timeline where accessing that level of information that comes through, because now we're upgrading and we're doing this type of work where we're expanding our consciousness, then we're able to receive those type of technologies that are kind of, futuristic in those ways that have been portrayed, like by our Hollywoods and whatever it is, like, on TV and movies and whatnot. When you're looking at these futuristic movies, the reason why they even exist in the first place is because there is some reality, there is some sense of there are aspects of timelines of reality where these technologies and everything that we're seeing, everything that we're perceiving, actually do exist, and we're moving closer and closer to that. Actually, I would say we are at that meeting point ground where we're going to be working with not just crystal technology, but with pyramid technology, and things of that nature. I am noticing that this is 34 minutes long, so I'm going to start cutting it short here, I do realize that there is some level of like organization that I want to establish going forward, because I feel like I don't want to be like all over the place. But if you guys don't mind, guys can comment, let me know what you want me to talk about. But the thing is I just want you guys to remember that we're doing this together. There is no person who is more important than the other, like in this process, because when we're looking at it from the higher perspective, we are one and the same, just expressing differently, like uniquely. So there's beauty in this whole process. And that's the kind of theme that I want to, carry forward. And what I want all of you to feel when you're listening to this is that you're more than welcome to share and express, like in the comment section, or to ask a question here or there. I'll let you know if something feels like it's a little off and I'm not ready to talk about. And that's usually always the case, that it has to deal with me not having processed the information in that way that I'm able to convey it, so that it's not necessarily coming off. It's being that it's being that it's coming from that point of alignment when I'm discussing it, because I do know that one of the the lesson that I have learned in this lifetime about, the previous incarnations, where I have felt as though I have been the cause of someone else's demise or destruction, or whatever the case may be. I do sense as though I blamed myself for not doing things correctly, and not doing things in a more sensitive manner when they pertain to sharing what my perspectives are. So there are moments where I kind of hesitate, when I feel like, if I feel like I'm not ready, then I don't touch a subject until I feel like I'm ready to talk about it. Um, in that way, that regardless of when it is that you're receiving the message, that it's not likely going to create that sort of um, disruption within a person's energetic system. I'm not here to disrupt someone's energetic system enough so that now they are engaged in a reactionary format of expression that really is at that point at this point where what we're seeing and what's being reflected on the outer realm of a perspective of life, earth life. The last thing that I'm going to touch upon is, like, there was something that was coming through about how with time, and it was this was a couple days ago when I had this thought, and it was about how we can all, as keepers of light, we can start perceiving time differently, like immediately, like when we start thinking about things that we can start perceiving time differently by speaking about time differently, by renaming the different experiences that we're having, so that we're kind of categorizing everything into a way of perception that allows us to be more in the now moment, which is the moment of power that we have. And so, we can even begin to see that what's going on outside of us, what I've been describing here about, all the ways in which, so many of us have been brought up to not be able to understand that there is paradox, and that there are so many different ways of existence here, that to, push against any of it doesn't really make any sense. Like that particular knowledge. Where am I going with this? That we can even start thinking about what's happening out there as the past. It is not our future, it is the past. And this message is it's coming in very strongly now that I'm speaking it, because it is how we immediately start to step into our sense of power, when we can call some of the things that we're objecting to, and some of the things that we don't want to be repeating, when we can call that what for for what we're wanting it to be an experience of the past versus an experience of the present, then we are effectively stepping onto that new timeline that I was speaking about, that we're effectively allowing ourselves to perceive, when we are perceiving it as the past, to also perceive an opening of a future that we are now just painting into existence. And I will I will leave the message here. I kind of went off in so many different tangents. I just hope that it doesn't sound as scattered as my human brain is kind of telling me. I'm pretty sure that it's fine, just because it did and is coming through from this natural sense of beingness that I'm and have been stepping into more and more lately. And I just want to thank you all for being here, listening and coming and tuning in and listening to me just kind of go on and on and on. It really is a new way for me to um, to living my life, and I'm enjoying every moment of it. So don't worry, I'm not as delicate as I appear. No, really, I'm not. uh yeah, so let's do it. Until next time.